Hello and welcome to Shambles FC, the weekly wrap-up show, the show where we just not talk about Arsenal, but we also talk about the English Premier League, transfers, Canada soccer, and TFC, and the heartbreak that they've given me over the last several seasons right here on shamblesfc.com. So let's get right into it. And of course, we're going to talk about Arsenal news first. And way back to last weekend, which seems like so long ago, Arsenal's big win against Leeds United 5-0. Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard went off injured, and we were all worried, of course, Odegaard with the shoulder and Bukayo Saka with another hamstring injury. But now, depending on where you see, reports are saying that it's not as bad as it seems, and Bukayo Saka should be expected to be out between 3 to 4 weeks, which then will lead us to believe that he will be obviously missing Liverpool, which really sucks. Then he will obviously miss the international break. Nottingham Forest, possibly be back against Manchester City, depending on how he is. But that's probably a long stretch, and they'll probably save him against Newcastle, or depending on how things go on Sunday against Liverpool and Nottingham Forest on September 13th, he might be back against Manchester City. So the latest, hopefully, is against Newcastle, but that's yet to be seen. On the other hand, though, good news is that Martin Odegaard should be expected to be back against Liverpool this coming weekend. So that is good. As Arteta said, so Martin felt something in his shoulder when he landed. We don't know. We'll have to scan him tomorrow, meaning the Sunday afterwards, and understand a bit better. So depending on where you get your news from, obviously that is good news, and we're hoping to see him against Liverpool. But we shouldn't be worried, because this is what Arsenal have prepared for since last season. Last season, Arsenal didn't have the reinforcements that they have now. And you have a plethora of players coming in that can do the business, including Eberechi Eze coming in. And could he possibly slot into that number 10 role that Martin Odegaard plays? Probably not, because he's going to have a week. And the more likely person to come in is Ethan Nwaneri, which he might start if Odegaard is out. That's probably my pick. But, Bukayo Saka, you can put Martinelli on the left-hand side and move None Madueke. So they've prepared for this. And I think we're in good hands for the most part, so we shouldn't be too worried. But you never know. It's against Liverpool, the early clash. So we shall see if Odegaard comes back. But if they're, I would err on the side of caution. If he's not fully fit, I would just say, I think Ethan Nwaneri can debutize very well in that role. So just, get him healthy. That's all we need. And of course, I did mention Eze coming in. He looked like, a kid on Christmas, just so happy to be at the stadium. I'm looking at a picture of him right now. The guy just looks absolutely happy. I'm happy that he came in, and he can be a game changer. And at Crystal Palace, he was one of the go-to guys, so he brings quality. And I'm just ecstatic that he is back in action with Arsenal. That made no sense, but hey, I'm just talking off the top of the dome here, as a friend would say. Anyways, let's move on to a Carabao Cup third round draw, and Arsenal have chosen, or they didn't choose, the draw chose Port Vale, League One side Port Vale, which is good, and we'll get into another clash that happened this week. We won't mention any names, Manchester United, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's a good draw for Arsenal. Right now, Port Vale are sitting second last from the bottom in League One. They've played 5 matches. They've drawn 2, lost 3, 2 points. They haven't won anything. But then again, Grimsby Town came and did the business, so never say never. But it is a good draw for Arsenal, a good chance maybe for Max Dowman to have a run in, and some of the other youngsters. But other than that, I think really good draw, and hopefully Arsenal put this one to bed, because we don't need anything that's happening up in Manchester United. Absolutely not. Anyways, moving on, Gabby Jesus is back in training. He posted a video looking like he's back at the Arsenal training ground, and him saying, "It's been 7 months of pain, uncertainty, and anxiety. Today I finally feel light, like a child playing football again. God is great." And he looks like he's bulked up a little bit. Maybe not so much on the legs, which is probably what you need there, Gabby. But he's looking fresh. He's obviously not training with the first team. He's just doing his own training. But he's looking like he's moving very well, passing the ball, running. There's a little glimpse of him, with clearly showing his legs in his video there. But happy to see him back. But where does he slot now? Like, where does he's been missing for so long. Where does he even go? Like, you have Gyökeres now, Kai Havertz. Hell, Mikel Merino is probably ahead of him in the pecking order for that striker position. Does he play on the flank? Where does Gabby Jesus fit? Let me know your comments, guys, because this is an interesting one. It's an interesting problem to have, a very good problem to have, because Gabby Jesus, he's still quality. You know that he can play. You know that he can score. You know that he can play well with the ball. But where does he slot in? It's interesting. The dynamic now. Does he get offloaded? Does he move on? We obviously haven't heard anything on in transfers about him, but where does he actually go? I have no clue. So let me know your thoughts, guys, in the comments. Moving on, and like I've always said, I don't credit what I see unless it's on Arsenal.com. But there's this post that I found very interesting saying that Arsenal still have about £134 million left to spend this summer before reaching their 302 million cap from FPP limits, according to Squawka. So I'm not too sure how credible this is, but it goes on to say that the Gunners have already committed 168 million up front on 7 signings, with an additional 75 million due in installments. Okay, so then it breaks down how they've gotten to these numbers, making the money. So three consecutive second place finishes in the English league, then consistency of being in the Champions League quarterfinals and semifinals, because as you progress, the team makes money depending on where you fit in the Champions League, and then just general growth in assets and overall revenue. So Arsenal are heading into the closing stages of the transfer window in a very strong financial position. This does not include, however, transfer outgoings. So hopefully that revenue, if indeed that's what it is, obviously we don't know the inner workings of the club, and not even these credible places like David Ornstein or Fabrizio Romano, they don't even know the inner workings of the club, because clearly the club is not going to post something like that, like sensitive information, out regularly. So I'm not too sure. So take it how you will. This is still not including transfers, so we've yet to see if that's true or not, but they are in a healthy position, and Arsenal have brought in a plethora of players. So yeah, they're in a good position. So it doesn't really matter to me. I just thought that was very interesting. Once again, let me know your thoughts. Finally, guys, by the time of this recording of this podcast episode, the Champions League draw has not been set in stone. That happens a little bit later on today. But Arsenal are in pot 2 of the Champions League, and they are guaranteed to face 2 of the following teams: PSG, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, Borussia Dortmund, and Barcelona. PSG, I don't want to play them. They obviously kicked us out of the Champions League last season, even though we beat them in the group stages. But that's nothing compared to how well they became as the Champions League progress. Real Madrid, we know that we can beat them, but do I want to face them early on? Absolutely not. Bayern Munich, we have a history with Bayern Munich. They've absolutely taken us out in the Champions League several times. Milan, good draw, the old geezer team. So I'm okay with playing them. Borussia Dortmund, I'm okay with playing them as well. Barcelona, once again, there's a history there. They've knocked us out a couple of times. You know, do I want to play them? No. But of course, the draw does happen today, and we will talk about that in the Arsenal post-match podcast on Monday. So, yeah, stay tuned for that, guys. And now let's take a little break, and we'll move into the English Premier League. Okay, welcome back. So let's talk about some quick news in terms of fixtures for match day 2 or week number 2. And we started off, obviously, last Friday with Chelsea versus West Ham, a 5-1 thumping to West Ham. Chelsea that they inflicted, that made no sense, but hey, whatever. Chelsea beat them 5-1, and game, set, and match. What else can we say about that? One of the biggest upsets, though, of match week 2 was Tottenham beating Manchester City 2-0. Crazy. Who would have thought? And Spurs are now 2 for 2. They are tied top of the league table with Arsenal and Liverpool. But yeah, that one I did not see happening. Wolves lost against Bournemouth, I should say, 1-0. Wolves down to 10 men on that match. Burnley beating Sunderland, the clash of the bottom two teams, or the clash of the promoted teams, however you want to see it. Granit Xhaka, his team lost 2-0, which sucks, but hey, it happens, dude, and that's the first clash. Those two teams are slated to be relegated back to the championship. So we'll see how that works. Brentford beat Aston Villa 1-0. Obviously, we know Arsenal beat Leeds 5-0. Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest tied 1-1. Everton beat Brighton 2-0. Fulham versus Manchester United. Oh, dude, it just keeps getting better. The week just kept getting better after that. They tied 1-1. And finally, the match of the week has to go down to Newcastle versus Liverpool in an emphatic 3-2 win to Liverpool. I for sure thought that Liverpool were going to drop points, and then Rio Nagamoa, however the hell you want to pronounce his name, came in, and I'll talk about him in a little bit. But he came in, got the game-winning goal in a very good fashion too, a very well stricken goal. So Newcastle lost. They couldn't hold on, but they were pressing the more pressing team, which it's funny to me because this is my opinion, by the way, but everybody was praising Liverpool of they got that's the grit of a champion right there to come out and get the W against. Clearly Newcastle was playing much better, and I did not see the full game. I saw the last maybe 20 minutes, and Newcastle down to 10 men still going at Liverpool, and it looked like Newcastle was going to win at one point when they were tied 2-2. But Liverpool came out obviously and won, and people are saying that's a champion's mentality. So how is that any different from the Manchester United against Arsenal match, where Arsenal clearly were not the better team? Manchester United were better on the day. Arsenal still got the win, and they managed to grit out a win. And it's not easy playing at your rival's place. Liverpool playing at St. James's Park and Arsenal playing at Old Trafford. Traditionally, Arsenal have not had the best of run at Old Trafford. They played like crap. I'm the first one to admit it, but they came in and they won. Isn't that a champion's mentality? Yes, they haven't won the league in so long. They haven't won any silverware, but that negates the fact that that's what the mentality of a champion is it not? That you get that champion's mentality there. I don't know. I find it very hard to believe that those two games, the similarities in both, and why aren't you saying that about Liverpool? I know clearly they won the league, and so maybe they're entitled to that, but I don't know. Just a little food for thought that I had in my head. But anyways, yeah, Arnie Slut had a really, he's a really good manager, and he came and did the business. On the other end, this other one is not breaking anymore, but Nottingham Forest are considering sacking Nuno Espirito Santo. This comes as there has been tension between the ownership, the gangster from Greece, and the manager himself, also stemming from certain signings during the transfer window, as reported. So he, as far as I know, he has not been sacked yet. I haven't seen any news as of the time of this recording, but could he be the first manager to be sacked this season? Or at the time of this recording, I don't know, but could it be Ruben Amorim? I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. And anyways, there's two little tad bits there going back to the Liverpool and Newcastle game here. Some people were saying that there should have been some penalties given to Newcastle. I'm seeing one picture here where Gavin Birch was holding one of the defenders here. I think I don't know who that is. That looks like Bruno Guimaraes, but I could be wrong. With two arms, and the referee plain sight doesn't give it. Then there's another one where Konate in the 47th minute sort of seems to push the defender, but I'm gonna come out and say that here. There's not enough there. There is not enough. The defender was already going down. He felt the slightest bit of touch, and he's going down. Bruno Guimaraes is saying, "Oh my God, he went down. He went down." And by the way, that was Joe Linton that he was Graben Birch was holding. But yeah, I you know what? That for me is not. That's very soft. He's going down. Anyways, that's not what I wanted to talk about. We want to talk about Rio Nagamoa, however the hell you pronounce his name. But a 16-year-old coming in, and to finish like that, the pressure is on this kid's shoulder, and he scores the goal, and he's playing like as if he's playing with friends. And I think that's what we gotta understand about these kids coming in and taking that opportunity. They're playing for having fun. Obviously, they're playing for big clubs like Max Dowman, 15 years old. Rio here, 16 years old. But what the hell were you doing at 15 and 16? I know what I was doing. Shout outs to my buddy that, was selling Playboy pictures. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it's awesome that these kids are coming in. And what does that say, about, kids being professional players? They're becoming younger and younger as time progresses. Could that be because of nutrition, technology, fitness conditioning? That's nuts. That the fact that these kids are playing against grown men and schooling them. Max Dowman coming in here playing like he's been playing for years. And Gamoa here, Rio, whatever his name is, Rio Ferdinand's kid. I'm just kidding. But him coming in and just playing like against these adults, and coming in and finishing the way he did. He still had to finish that shot. I mean, that's crazy. It goes to show that, they're it's crazy. It's just nuts how these kids are growing up so fast. Yeah, you know what? I saw a post there where you got to leave these kids alone, and just let them play football. Which I agree. Just let them play football. They're not there for the spotlight. They're just there to play. So yeah, moving on to the Carabao Cup. Oh my God, I just wanted to talk about this the whole entire podcast. Grimsby Town beating Manchester United in a crazy penalty shootout, 12-11. Grimsby Town, second in League 2, I should say, of the English Pyramid. And crazy, there's something here that I want to read. Grimsby Town stunned Manchester United in a 11 on penalties following a 2-2 draw after 90 minutes at Blundell Park. Brian Mbeumo missed a decisive kick as Ruben Amorim's side crashed out against a fourth-tier opposition, which is insane. And if you want to talk about more insane, the squad value of Manchester United is 1 billion versus 4.3 million. Yes, 1 billion versus 4.3 million squad values. That is insane. And this tweet here saying the definition of an upset from Grimsby Town, which is crazy. And then you have scenes of like Grimsby Town just won the Champions League. Fans onto the pitch, and Nigel Reo-Coker saying the greatest upset of all times, and then just unbelievable scenes for Grimsby Town, which is, a feel-good story. I love feel-good stories. I love it even better that it was against Manchester United. Even Grimsby Town tweeting was hoping we could use this, and you've just been slapped by the fish, trolling Manchester United, which seals the deal for me. Oh my God, it's so amazing. But then again, right, Arsenal play a lower team as well in Port Vale, but they can also come and upset Arsenal as well. So I'm not celebrating too much. Screw it, I'm celebrating. I don't give a crap right now. Interesting. In the 96 minutes that Benjamin Sesko played against Grimsby Town, 0 goals, scored in the penalty, however, 2 out of 6 shots on target, 1 big chance missed, 7 passes in 90 minutes plus. That's crazy. 0 key passes. He won 2 out of 12 duels, and he lost possession 9 times. Does this mean he's a crappy player and a bad signing? Absolutely not. He had an off day. It's his first start, right? Should you be worried as a Manchester United fan? I don't think so, man. I think he's still quality. People are quick to jump on and do these comparisons. It's just one game. Man. This could be the start of something. He could come up and, become the leading goal scorer for the season. You never know. But yeah, I'm still going to laugh because, Manchester United, they instead of going for a goalkeeper, they went for Benjamin Sesko. And I mean, Onana just absolutely terrible. Onana should not even be playing. Onana cannot, he couldn't even stop a snail from scoring a goal. So he's absolutely bad, and he should not be playing. He should not be playing at all. And that's what they should focus on. That's who they should be focusing on. Anyways, let's get into some transfer news. And of course, transfer news, guys, we have to start with Arsenal, and they're not stopping. According to Fabrizio Romano, Arsenal are in for Del Piero, Hincapié. I don't know how to pronounce that guy, and I'm I'm Latino, and he's also Latino. He's from Ecuador, and I don't know how to pronounce his name. But anyways, I'm gonna call him Del Piero Hincapié. He's apparently agreed personal terms. Nothing has been settled by Arsenal, and Bayer never losing. So another center back coming in, and I think this one is being key in like outgoing. So if they sell Kiwior to Porto, if Zinchenko exits as well, this could be a lot more lucrative. So it's still nothing, as at the time of the recording of this podcast, it's still not settled whether or not he is an Arsenal player, but it seems likely. And another, steal from Arsenal against Tottenham, even though from what I've been seeing, Tottenham were never really in for Del Piero. And, it's just maybe people are just trolling and making some stuff up. So we'll continue to monitor that. And, I don't know anything about Del Piero, so maybe I'll go watch a compilation of him and see what he does. But he was on the winning side for Bayern never losing, when they won the Bundesliga. In other Arsenal transfer news, Reiss Nelson is apparently close to signing for Crystal Palace for about £15 million, but as a deal with Fulham seems to have gone cold. But once again, we still don't know whether or not Reiss Nelson will leave. He's been heavily linked with Fulham because he did do a a uh, a loan spell there. So we'll continue to monitor that as well. As I've already talked about, Kiwior and FC Porto is likely. FC Porto apparently have officially bid for Jakub Kiwior in a fee of an excess of 25 million with add-ons including are included on loan with obligation to buy. So whether he goes out on loan and then they buy him, I have no idea why. Just sell him. So that is being key there. I'm gonna butcher this kid's name, but Arsenal have agreed a deal for 16-year-old Irish talent Victor Ozhianvuna. I'm just going to call him Victor from Shamrock Rovers. Deal is done in principle, apparently, waiting to sign all documents, but green light from all sides to get it sealed in January of 2027. So I'm not too sure. 4.5-year contract for Victor. Once again, I don't know anything about this kid, but hey, if Arsenal, I'll go look at his compilation, but if Arsenal are looking at him, then clearly that's something. Now moving away from Arsenal, but Bayern Munich apparently are linked with Nicholas Jackson for a loan move from Chelsea. And apparently the talks are in advanced negotiations. Bayern will cover the fees, the full salary. So that's huge for Chelsea. But once again, I don't know. Do you care? Does it matter? Why would he be going to Bayern Munich? They have Harry Kane. So that makes no sense unless he's a backup to Harry Kane. So not too sure. Now, kind of moving to Canadian news, but it's transfer news. Derek Cornelius has gained interest from Deportivo Alaves in Spain, and they are in talks with Olympique Marseille for a permanent move. The transfer fee would need to be around 4 million minimum for him to move. The player's salary is an obstacle, and it is being discussed. So Derek Cornelius, maybe he's not having the best of times at Marseille. But Deportivo in Spain are looking at him. And of course, there's a big Canadian man there that's killing it, and he's the leading goal scorer. We'll get into that in Canada Soccer News. But he's absolutely killing it there. But yeah, Derek Cornelius, hopefully it's a good move for him. But we'll still see. And just another talking point here in the transfers here. This is an interesting tweet that I saw, so I wanted to bring it up to you guys. Is who got the better deal? Wirtz and Ekitike combined 210 million. Then there are these signings combined: Christian Nolgu, Zubabendi, Gyökeres, Eze, Christian Mosquera. Those signings apparently combined, or all of the Arsenal signings so far combined 210 million. So who got the better deal here? I mean, Wirtz has not been playing well. Ekitike has been. He's been scoring goals. Obviously, Wirtz will come into his own soon. But who got the better deal here, guys? Interesting question. I'm going to say Arsenal just because I'm an Arsenal fan. But let me know down in the comments, guys, what you think was the who got the better deal in the signings. And now, guys, to finish off the podcast, we'll move on to some Canada soccer and some TFC, so stay tuned. All right, we are back with some Canada news, and as I reported last week, Alistair Johnston came off injured for Celtic in that Champions League match, and now it is confirmed that he is expected to miss roughly 3 months with a lower body injury. Celtic manager Brandon Rodgers announced last Friday that Johnston is going to be out for that long, which means that he will not be playing for a long time, and he will not be playing for Canada in the upcoming international break. But hopefully, he'll be back to his old ways as, we're gearing up for the 2026 FIFA World Cup that's going to be hosted in Canada, US, and Mexico. So we're definitely going to need him. He's one of our best players on the team, period. So, that means now alongside him, Alphonso Davies is still injured. Derek Cornelius is injured. Promise David is injured, which sucks, So that's not great, but hopefully he'll be back in time to continue playing for Celtic. So he's going to miss a couple of games in October and November. In other news, and we've already touched a little bit this, we'll go back to Spain here, and Villarreal's Tajon Buchanan made history by becoming the first ever Canadian to score a hat-trick in La Liga. He got man of the match, 3 goals, absolutely incredible. I'm so happy for him that he's now finding his feet at Villarreal, and hopefully he continues to be one of the first names on the team sheet, scoring a hat-trick goal against Girona. And yeah, I'm happy for him. He's finally killing it. Another Canadian that's also killing it, though, is Jonathan David, scoring his first goal as a Juve player on the weekend. And it's happy days, aside from Alistair Johnson, but happy days for our Canadian men's team players who are absolutely killing it abroad, and I hope they continue killing it. I hope Joe David becomes one of the highest goal scorers in Europe as well again. So just happy days, and hope to see them keep scoring. In other Canadian men's national team news, the roster for this transfer window friendlies against Romania and Wales in September has been announced. And Ali Ahmed, Zorhan Bassong, Tajon Buchanan, Chouanier, Cornelius, Crepeau, Jonathan David, Promise David, Luke de Farigiol, Steven Eustachio, Junior Hoylett is back, Jaden Hibbert, Jamie Knight LaBelle, Ishmael Kone, Kyle Laren, Lorea, Marshall Ruddy, Nelson Tanny, who just apparently made his big move, Nathan Saliba from Anderlecht, Schaffelberg, Nico Segur, Dane St. Clair, and Joel Waterman round up that team there. Unfortunately, obviously, Alphonso Davies not in the team still. He's still recovering from that horrific injury. So we hope to see him. But it's a pretty strong lineup, a pretty strong lineup. No Jonathan Osorio as well. He's apparently going to be rested. But then again, I mean, he's been playing with TFC. He hasn't been playing very well, to be honest. And that's probably the reason why the coach hasn't, Jesse Marsh hasn't picked him. So that makes complete sense. Promise David is in there, which is great. Jonathan David, who's been scoring. Luke de Farigiol is also in there. So happy to see these guys, and we got to support Les Rouges. So hope to see some games there. And yeah, let's finish off with TFC news. Not much there, guys. TFC played against Atlanta United this past Sunday. Both teams are absolutely garbage, but TFC is even more garbage. But hey, we are seeing a lot of green in player ratings here, including Long, who got a 7.8 rating in that game. So pretty good. Jonathan Osorio got 7.2. Lorea got 7.4. But overall, it is what it is. TFC are absolute garbage. They are not going to make the playoffs. They got to get rid of Robin Fraser, the coach. He's absolute trash. He's got to go. He's got to go. That's plain and simple. He sucks. He's terrible. Like, TFC are 12th and Atlanta are 14th. And Atlanta and Toronto have been powerhouses in the league in previous seasons. Clearly not now. And TFC absolutely suck. The last 5 games they've lost. They've lost 2, drawn 3. And now it's to the weekend they're gonna play against Montreal, the 401 Derby. And if you don't know what that means, that's probably because you're not in Canada. But the 401 is a highway that stretches all the way from Detroit in Windsor all the way up to Montreal. That's hence the name 401 Derby. We're probably going to lose against Montreal, but you never know. Montreal are in 13th place, but we're still probably going to lose. They won their last game against Austin FC 3-2, whereas we drew against Atlanta. So They have a better 5-game record right now. They've only lost 1, drawn 2, and won 2. TFC haven't won anything in the last 5 games. So Montreal probably going to win. But hey, you still got to support them. I just want TFC to come back to the glory days. And I think, honestly, that won't happen until they get rid of Robin Fraser. Just get rid of the whole entire team. Like, just from the front end, all the the management, the ownership. It's got to go. MLSC has got to do something about it. But hey, what do I know? You still got to support them. Do I want to watch it? Probably not, but you got to support. Guys, that has been your weekly wrap up for Shambles FC. And now we're going to move into the Shambles of the week. And for that, we don't have to look very far, guys, but the Shambles of the week has to be Manchester United losing to Grimsby Town, a League Two side in the Carabao Cup, and also tying against Fulham. Not the best of weeks, but the best of weeks for us Arsenal fans, me in particular. And I'm just happy because my Manchester United friend is absolutely crying. So if you're watching this, Sammy, I'm sorry, but not. No, I'm really not. But that is your Shambles of the week. It has to be Manchester United. They're in a bad position. And the question that I ask you, is it time to get rid of Ruben Amorim? Is it time for him to go? His record suggests that he should be fired, should be sacked. Will he be the first manager to be sacked? We have yet to know this, but that is your Shambles of the week. And that concludes the weekly wrap-up show, guys. You can find us on all your major podcasting catchers. We're on Spotify. We are on Amazon Prime podcast. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on YouTube, so go give us a sub there. And you can find everything in the one-stop shop at shamblesfc.com. My name is Mario once again. Thank you guys for TikTok. Our TikTok has been blowing up. So just a quick shout out to all of you guys that are followed there and liked and commented. Keep those coming because it does help us out. We will talk to you again on the Arsenal post-match review podcast against Liverpool. And I'm hoping that it is a W, or at least not a thumping. Have yourselves a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.